Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Lounge radio show, where we expose the myths of entrepreneurship and release the weight of it all. Real people, real issues, and real talk with expert solutions. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show as we welcome our host, Alicia Brown, the Joy Guru.
Well, hello. This is Alicia Brown, the Joy Guru, and I am thrilled to be with you today and back in the seat. New season, and this is the second episode, and we're only a month in, less than a month in. So today's topic, and I cannot wait to introduce you to our expert guest. But today's topic is about unwrapping joy, fighting seasonal depression, and finding light amid darkness. Now, the holiday season, these fall, winter months, while they're cherished by many, they're challenging to others. And I just want to share some statistics that highlight this, although many of you can relate to this personally. According to the American Psychological Association, nearly 9 in 10 U.S. adults, that is representing 89%, report that concerns such as financial strain, missing loved ones, and anticipating family conflict cause them stress during the holiday season, which at the time of this is approaching us heavily. Now, according to the American Psychiatric Association, approximately 5% of U.S. adults experience seasonal affective disorder, which is a type of depression that typically occurs during the fall and winter months due to reduced daylight. If this is your first time hearing about that, it is totally a thing. Now, the American Psychiatric Association also shares that a significant portion of adults, approximately 31%, anticipate feeling more stress during the holiday season compared to previous years, with concerns about affording holiday expenses and managing holiday preparations contributing to this increase. And of course, if you add other factors, such as grief, hardships, and social unrest, this can be a challenging season for most. But myself and today's expert guest will want you to know that this is your season to thrive, no matter what is happening around you. Do not let the season or the headlines define your story. So without further ado, I'm going to formally introduce today's guest. And trust me, bear with me because this bio, yes, I need to share every piece of it because not only is she qualified, but when you hear the personal things as well, you'll understand why she's our guest expert today, who is licensed professional counselor Danielle L. McDowell. Now, Danielle L. Booth McDowell is a dedicated and passionate licensed professional counselor and Virginia Board of Counseling approved supervisor. As the driving force behind her outpatient private practice, Lit Therapy, a holistic mental health collective for couples, and as the CEO of Reclaiming My Wellness, Danielle channels her personal journey and professional expertise into empowering others. Her mission is to help individuals uncover their inner strength and navigate their personal challenges with confidence and resilience. With a background as a former high school teacher and mental health professional, Danielle specializes in working with adults and couples from diverse backgrounds. She focuses on issues such as self-care, self-esteem, relationship dynamics, and stress management. Danielle's approach is intuitive and results oriented, guiding clients through dynamic and interactive transformations. Now, I said professional and personal because as a wife, mother of 5, and yaya of 2 granddaughters, Danielle understands the complexity of balancing personal and professional responsibilities. She brings this empathy into her practice, offering wisdom, encouragement, and practical solutions in a safe and non-judgmental therapeutic environment. Her playful yet effective delivery style helps clients gain insight and achieve their goals without unnecessary seriousness. Now, Danielle is also an advocate, best-selling author, and expert speaker, known for her transparent approach and commitment to serving her community. She encourages curiosity and collaboration in her clients, fostering a therapeutic alliance that promotes growth and healing. Now, outside of her practice and consulting agency, Danielle enjoys spending time with her family and engaging in activities that bring joy and balance to her life. And she invites you to take the next step in your journey towards wellness and connect with her for a consultation, which you'll get the information of how you can do that at the end of this broadcast. So, without further ado, we want to welcome Danielle L. Booth McDowell to the Entrepreneurs Lounge radio show and podcast. And Danielle, how are you doing today?
Hey everyone, I'm doing good. I'm grateful that it's the day before Friday and we're about to
Yes.
move into the weekend soon, but I'm grateful to be here.
All right now. And you're right. It's the day before Friday. We're going to move
Mhm.
into the weekend soon. And for
Mhm.
some, that brings some stress, but you're here to help us today. So we're going to just jump right on in because as
Okay.
our viewers have heard, you have a full plate, you have your expertise, and wow, in your personal life, you're the person we vibe with because we're juggling multiple plates as well. So the holidays are supposed to be that joyful time, but as we've heard, for many, it's quite the opposite. So, what are some of the common triggers for seasonal depression or sadness during this time of the year?
Well, this is a tough time for many people, including me, because it gets colder and I
Yep.
prefer the warm, right? Because we're moving into the winter months. And
Yes.
also the time changes. And so it is darker
Hmm.
longer. And we don't have long evenings, which we are accustomed to during the day. And
Yes.
so, as humans, we benefit from the sun in many ways that we don't really pay attention to on a day-to-day basis, but we have a less opportunity to connect with the vitamin D from the sun, and that
Hmm.
also can cause emotional and physical challenges. Also, this time of the year is perceived in our country as time with family and connection, and that can trigger people who may not have healthy family relationships or may have lost a loved one, and now they are having to do these traditions without that loved one present. So there are many factors that cause different triggers for people during this time of the year.
Woo, you said a mouthful there. And yes, to every last one of them. Today in particular, where we are in Virginia, I'm like, Lord, it's cold out there. What in
Mhm.
the world? And it sort of makes you like not want to go out and do things.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
too cold. So yeah.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, for me, holidays were really about spending time with family. And of course, life circumstances as we age, a lot of them are not here anymore. So you
Yeah.
grieve those memories. You can make
Mhm.
new memories, but it's like they're not here. So that
Yeah.
can trigger things in people too. So absolutely. And you mentioned a few things. So as we know in the US, we just went through another presidential election. For some people,
Mhm.
it triggers them as well when they think about the past and uncertainty from the past and what is the future going to be with all the other things they're juggling. So, how can societal events such as political outcomes or economic challenges, how can those amplify those type of emotions, negative emotions during the holidays?
Well, this particular election was like amplifying it on steroids because in the past, we've had elections, and prior to the Trump years,
Mhm.
the difference was conservative views in relation to liberal views.
Right.
And there was this distinction between just the way we look at budgeting the government, right? But in recent years, there has been a big push around all the isms, the sexisms, the racisms, the things, right? And the individual who won the election um, caused a lot of challenges for our society in many of those isms. So he demonstrates through his character some concerns, in my opinion. Now, I'm speaking for myself, y'all. Y'all watching this listening to this, Alicia didn't say it, Danielle did. So come to my DMs, okay? Leave her be. But because of this individual, and some of the politics and some of the statements he's made around sending people back who don't belong here, ending like the Department of Education and some other things that tariffs, because he don't understand how tariffs work. All these things are stressful because we do understand that there will be implications to all of us if that becomes reality, right? And so we're seeing that some of the checks and balances in our government are not working as they should
Mhm.
currently for some people, right? And that brings real concern. And so I've told my clients when they've come to sessions since the election, and they're like, I feel like I'm going crazy. Like I'm being dramatic. And I'm having to help them give themselves grace and
Yeah.
rationalize that if you turn on the news, they times 10 everything. And their intention is to invoke fear and to keep you connected to what they're saying on the news and on the radio. Like it's a reason why they're doing that for viewership. And if you're hearing that kind of noise, it causes you to feel stressed out throughout the day and worry about your future and how this will affect you. And on the other side of that, families have been broken up based on how they chose, right? So clearly there are people who have been conservative who feel like now that I voted for him, my family won't talk to me,
Mm.
or they're choosing not to let me come over for Thanksgiving. And how can they do that? So there are many layered variables to how this particular election climate is affecting our communities. But I want to ensure your listeners that if you're feeling any of these intense feelings, you are not going crazy. Okay. This
Mm.
is the reality. The challenge, though, is for you to identify what part can I take action and what part is out of my control. And the stuff that's out of my control, how do I calm myself down enough in my central nervous system to only focus on the things that I can change for
Come on.
me and
Come on now. Come on now. I'm so glad that you addressed that because
Mhm,
this show has never shied away. Um,
mhm,
it on the table. However, if you thought that was a pro versus against, it wasn't. It's the
mhm,
reality of what people are actually feeling. And regardless of
mhm.
what side you stand on, the bottom line is people are impacted. There are bigger
Yeah.
issues than this or that, what side you're on. There's bigger issues, and people, different classes, different
Mhm,
ethnicities, different culture, they're being impacted. So when you
mhm,
talk about clients that come in and feel like they're going crazy and clients that feel stressed out, these are real issues. Even what you
mhm,
said about media, if you're of a certain age, we remember just things being different and how the
mhm.
media was treated. Now,
Yeah.
there, some delusion, was there manipulation? Of course there were, but
Mhm,
we were ignorant to that. Now we're
mhm,
not. Now we
yeah,
can't be. So that's a
mhm,
whole nother factor of emotions, how media is disseminated, how much we're bombarded by things, whether it's social
mhm,
media, whether it's in office conversation, whether it's in the store, whether it's on the radio, whether it's on a podcast. You're hearing all of this all at the same time, which
mhm,
really, on top of other things you might be unbalanced with, it's just causing more trouble. And, a
mhm.
lot of people that are really people that we would say, quote unquote, are always put together, they're
Yeah.
unraveling.
Yeah.
And it's not
Mhm,
you're weak. I thought you're strong. You're weak. No, these are real issues. So I love that part where you said giving yourself grace. Because I think a lot of us, especially if you
mhm,
resonate with this, you don't give
mhm,
yourself enough grace and you don't even know how to.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
So, hey, now you also talked about that part about strained family relationships because you see it. I
mhm.
mean, anyone sees it. All you need is a
Oh,
social media account. People just bam. You voted for. They assume a statement you made mean you were for. Oh,
yeah.
I'm cutting you off. I thought you were my
Mhm,
friend. I thought you were this type of person. It's like, whoa, whoa. One statement that may not even be what they meant. You don't want to
mhm,
understand nothing. We just gonna cut them off because I think you're on that side, which means you must be do 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 do. I ain't friends with you no more. You're not my family member. So, what advice do you have for our listeners during, how they deal with those strained family relationships or feeling disconnected from loved ones during this time?
I will say that if your family is disconnected for an unhealthy reason, that you have opportunity to create your own chosen family, right? And
Mm.
we all have capacity to build community and village around ourselves. And if we are missing a thing because it is unhealthy, then you need to go fill that space in with healthy relationship. So if you are feeling isolated from family or feeling like I can't go there because every time I go there, I am harmed emotionally or verbally,
Mm.
don't go. It's not worth the turkey and the yams
No.
to sit at the table and be abused. Find community that you choose that have similar values and can treat you well, because that's what most important. And if you must, because I have some interesting family members myself, if you need to be around those people, you have to be really good with your boundaries. Because if you aren't, you will be harmed. Now, it's you have capacity to be in space with people with firm boundaries, but if you don't enforce those firm boundaries, then it's not a them problem. That's a you problem that you need to be working on.
Okay, so see, I don't feel attacked with that statement. Previous years I would have because I wasn't good with the boundaries, establishing them. And then once you say that's my boundary, enforcing it. So yeah,
Hmm.
you can't just beat up all. But what you said is so powerful because I've practiced it for a long time. I built, I always say I have friends that are like family. And I've
Hmm.
learned through my journey that my family doesn't mean biological necessarily. So,
Hmm.
because we're blood related, I believe if you revere me and treat me like family and I reciprocate, we're family.
Hmm.
If you don't, just because we're blood related, don't mean we family. Maybe you can
Yeah.
claim that on the heritage chart, but the way we treat in relationship, there are people that are biologically related that you know who they are, and you have
Hmm.
zero connection and relationship. So I
Yeah.
have friends that just we have that relationship like family. That's who I
Mhm.
spend holidays with. And to be honest, when people start passing, that having that established made it so much easier
Mhm.
because you had
Yeah.
support, you had community, as you called it. You had that
Mhm.
village, and village is not always biological people. But it did take a moment to realize I don't have to do what's expected of me. Like some
Mhm.
people normalize trauma and abuse and all of that. So it's like, well, they family, I gotta go there. Well, you know how
Mhm.
they are. So I'm unprepared to sit with them. Yeah, that turkey, that pie good, but they gonna start
Mhm.
cussing, then it's gonna be a fight, and everybody gonna yell at the top of their lungs, and then so-and-so gonna get mad and stomp off. Then I got to smile and pretend it don't hurt my feelings. Then I'm gonna go in the corner, lay and cry. Or you have the person, yeah, they say something to me, it's on. It's on pop. Y'all wait for them because I know he gonna say and that's how you want to spend the holiday celebrating? If
Yeah.
that's your jam. That ain't my jam. I just saw the damage it was doing, the abuse it was continuing. So I was just like, no, I'm out. And that was one
Yeah.
of the most empowering things. Even, I had something this year and I'm being transparent for the sake of our listeners. I had something this year. It was like, it was one of those things professionally that's expected of me. I said, you know what? My mental health and my emotional health is far more important. How does it feel when I go there? It doesn't matter my association. Because, like you said, you can be in the room. There are times you have to be in the room and you can manage it. But for me, and this was something where someone else is paying for me to, go and participate. I said, what does it make me feel like? What do I
Mhm.
receive in being there? Is there an
Mhm.
advantage so strong that it's worth me
Mhm.
picking up those manners to be there? I said no, because at the end of
Mhm.
the day, while I could, it didn't suit me well. It didn't
Yeah.
refuel me. It didn't make me feel good. So for the sake of
Mhm.
my own emotional and mental health, I made the decision not to go. And I haven't even
Mhm.
announced that to that party yet, but the way I felt, that empowered, that strength, it brought me so much peace that,
Mhm. Mhm.
even that decision, firmly, I'm not going. And
Mhm.
I'm not dissing it for everybody else. I'm not putting down the event, but for me, it's not where I belong. So they can go and have the fun and whatever it means to them. But for me, it means more for me to take a seat and not be present. So
Yeah.
that advice you gave is just so vital, not
Mhm.
feeling hopeless or helpless, but we are in that driver's seat to make a decision
Mhm.
about what really is good for us. And I can't stress enough what really is good for your emotional and
Mhm.
mental health. This isn't a power play about whether you're weak or strong. It's about
Yeah.
what lights you up, what is good for your emotional
Mhm.
health, not what you can sustain. Now,
Mhm.
on that same wavelength, I know that your practice is centered around helping couples and families. So, what is the advice you give them to how they can support each other's mental health during the holiday season?
I think it's important to communicate frequently what you need. And we're not always conditioned in that way, but check-ins are so important for relationships, right? And so being able to say, like, I know we're moving into Thanksgiving next week, and I'm just wanting to know how you're feeling about things. Like, is anything coming up for you? Having communication and support. Right now, when we talk to people, we tend to talk to people with the intention of how do I respond to what someone is saying to me? And
Mhm.
we miss really active listening. And
Mhm.
one way you can be supportive of your family and any other relationships is to actively listen instead of listening for responding, listening to confirm you understood what was said. And
Ooh.
it feels weird at first, right? Because you're saying back and summarizing what you heard. But if you do that correctly, many times we find that we hear based on our perception and our experiences, and we can miss language just because, ooh, I don't like how they said that to me. That triggers something for me. So now I'm being defensive, right? Instead of saying, I think this is what I heard, because you may have heard it wrong or felt it wrong. And now the other individual can clean it up, clarify, and you can have better communication. But ways you can help is talking and respecting people's boundaries,
Mm.
right? And enforcing your own. These are all ways you model to your family and your loved ones that I respect your boundaries and I have expectation that you will respect mine too.
Ooh, that's a mouthful. For
Mm-hmm.
I know some of y'all felt some stuff I felt. Don't worry, we will have her information where you can get a consultation. Because I know what it's like, as I said before, where you don't have boundaries and you don't know how to establish. And now she said to speak up, you got to actively
Mm-hmm.
communicate. It was so much easier for you just not to say nothing and walk away and ball it in, but it wasn't. And
No.
that's why you triggered. That's why you
Mm-hmm.
responded a certain way, and maybe they really didn't mean it that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because I work with a lot of women's in my coaching uh business and helping them understand like how to enforce boundaries and what they are and recondition because women,
Mhm.
especially Black women, we
Woo,
are conditioned to take care of other people's needs before our own.
come on.
And in doing that, we put everything before us, and then we tell ourselves unconsciously that we don't matter,
Ooh,
that this other person is more important than me, their needs are more important than me. And you are modeling that, especially around your children and
ooh,
your grandbabies, maybe too. And so my daughters and my granddaughters, no, no, no. Danielle come first. It's God, Danielle, then the rest of y'all. We'll figure out how to get you in there after. But by doing that, I bring the best version of myself to
yes.
all those relationships. And so in the short term, it feels easier to not enforce boundaries, but it is long-term consequences to that that may not just be yours. You're modeling things for people too, and they're picking it up.
That's a whole episode. We
Hmm.
may have to do that one. We may have to bring you
Hmm.
back to do because that's a whole my Lord. That's my
Hmm.
whole story. Oh, okay. We gonna hook that up, y'all. Don't worry, we gonna hook that up because oh Lord, Black women, entrepreneur, people in general. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a whole we gonna I'll talk to Danielle after this. We gonna hook that up because that's very serious. We need that.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna shift just a little bit. I,
Hmm.
oh Lord. All right. So we know there is a thing. as seasonal depression. Some of you
Mhm.
listening and viewing, this may be the first time you really heard that. But how can
Mhm.
our listeners really differentiate between normal stress and then something more serious like depression or anxiety? Because, this time of year, people are like, I'm just busy, with the holidays and the pressure or whatever. That's what it is. I'm all right, though. But there is a
Mhm.
difference between your normal stress and then depression and anxiety. So, how do we differentiate between that?
So the clinical diagnosis is for all these things is it's a period of time that it has happened consistently, right? And so if you're noticing like we 3 weeks into this and I'm
Mhm.
still every day having a hard time getting out of the bed or having a hard time worrying about things and it's been around for a while now, it's at the space where you could be diagnosed. And so you need to be getting some help, right? Um, during this time of the year, there are a bunch of different factors that can cause it to be difficult. Like I mentioned earlier, some of those triggers. And the challenge we have is some of the triggers that come with just basic grief and having a hard time also show up in depression and anxiety. And so you need a professional to really sit down and I love TikTok for information, but please, like a licensed professional, someone who had to go to school and get some education and spend a bunch of hours like practicing a thing so they understand a thing so that you better understand what this is. Because many people think like I've just for a season been sad and it passes in the spring. And I'm like, hey, that's a diagnosis, ma'am. Like we should be going and getting some support with this, right? And I think it's also connected to the labels, right? Some
Yeah.
people have a hard time being called any of the things. And I like to tell people I care less about the label and more about identifying the symptoms so that we can use tools and resources to improve your quality of life. And that's what's important. So if it's been around for longer than 2 weeks, whatever these symptoms are, find a mental health therapist. And if you have a hard time finding one, find me so I can help you find one because
Yes.
you need some, right?
Yes. And
Yes.
I will say, I brought Danielle on because I know her and I know she's qualified. And I've even had questions to you, like, what's the difference? And
Hmm.
that's the guidance of how to proceed. Because a lot of
Hmm.
times, like you said, it's the labels, it's the stigma. And then I hear people, I don't want medicine. Well, nobody said because you seek therapy, they're going to put you on medicine. And most
No, no, no.
therapists, if they're really qualified, think the first thing they want to put you
Yeah,
on is medicine. But
that's
we
true.
think, well, if you go to them, they gonna put you on the crazy medicine, and then you ain't gonna never get up. No, no,
Yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's go in first. You can say no after or something feels off. You can decline. It's not like once I'm damn stuck. Or that might
Hmm.
not be the therapist for you. You can seek another
Yeah,
therapist. But at least go. At least go.
indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And typically, when people come where we have had like complex long-term anxiety, depression, where you haven't done anything for years, right? And it has been around forever and ever, that is the hardest to use coping skills and self-care to address, but it's not impossible.
Right.
And I always take time to get to know clients, their situations, things they have tried. I don't prescribe medicine anyway, because I'm not a psychologist or
Mhm.
a psychiatrist. So I don't prescribe medication. I do tell people if you've been suffering with this for years and years and it has went unchecked, I can't guarantee you self-care and talk therapy gonna fix it, but we can try and see what happens. But yes, like you said, like there are a million different therapists that do different things, different styles, different interventions. And so if one doesn't work, it doesn't mean that therapy doesn't work for you. It just means that that one didn't work. And it's okay to fire a therapist and get one that works,
Hello.
right? That's the way it works. I have my own therapist and I am a therapist. And I understand that if it's not a good fit, I don't get good work and I don't got money to waste, y'all. I don't know
Hello.
about y'all, but I'm not paying for it if it's not helping me. And so I don't encourage you to do the same. Find someone that is helpful to you.
I hope y'all caught all of that. I hope you
Mhm.
caught. all of that. Because first, she said she is a therapist that has a therapist. And some of the times when people who have tried therapy, some of their objections is they got to the therapist that really needed more help than the help they said they offer. So yeah, it's not one and done. And then two, she just told you that she gets to know you. So if you
Mhm.
needed something like a psychiatrist, or if she felt like what she has to offer may not work for you, she gonna be honest and tell you that. That's what you really need for somebody that's trying to care for you. You don't need anyone that's just trying to reel you in and this is a payment and do that. So yeah, it's important that you get to a therapist, understanding you're not stuck. And then, like you said, let's get to know each other. Let's see how they can help me. Let them deal with me before it's just like no, or I'm buying into stigma because it's perceived by this one or this one. And hashtag, other than your insurance company, nobody has to know that you went to a therapist. You can totally keep this to yourself and choose you a
Indeed,
therapist.
indeed, indeed. You sure can. You can
It's
do all
all
of those. And you don't have to take the darn pill. You can say, I don't want medication. I've had many clients come and say, Danielle, I hear you, but I'm not taking meds. And I say, all right, bet, no problem. And one of the things that I remind them is like, okay, so I'll tell a little bit more of my business. I got high blood pressure. And if my weight gets a certain weight, I have
hello.
to increase my medications or make adjustments to it. And the doctor says, hey, you can lose that weight if you like, and you won't need so much medicine. But if you're going to keep carrying the weight, then you're going to add this extra thing to your medications to keep your pressure down. Emotional health the same way. If you're not sleeping well, eating well, staying hydrated, staying connected to things outside of yourself, and doing the things that help to decrease the symptoms, ain't no pill in the world gonna help anyway. So like you got to do some other things. It's important, and you always have choice.
Thank
You
you.
don't have to just take what a professional says as like you know your body better than anyone else. And if it's medication isn't for you, I respect that, and there are many therapists who will respect that too.
Amen.
And if they don't, find somebody who do.
Period. And I'm just going to add this little tag before we move on. I am a faith-based person, and I'll never
Mhm.
beat you over the head with the Bible, but
Mhm.
we don't have a problem being transparent on this platform. Praying alone ain't gonna get it. I'm just saying,
Mhm.
God made therapists, God made treatment. So I
Mhm.
want you, if you're faith-based, if you believe in God or wherever your higher power is, that's your business. But that alone is not going to get it. There are times you need to go and see someone and get help. If I have a little cut, I might be able to put on a band-aid and clean myself up. But if I
Mhm.
get a major injury, a major cut that requires stitches, I can't sit here. All the band-aids and bandages in the world are going to do absolutely nothing. I have to go get medical care. It is the same way on what we're talking about. So love the
Mhm.
Lord, have your faith system, whatever you do, but I'm encouraging you, please don't stop there. That's
Yeah.
order and decency. Gotta put that in there.
Yeah. And I'm a Christian, y'all. That's a
Uh,
therapist. And so I believe in the Lord. And some of my clients, they have their pastor that offers pastoral counseling. And then me, because I'm trained to do the more complex mental health stuff. So you have capacity to have God and prayer and your pastor and a therapist too. Like
yeah.
you don't have to have one or the other. Like all of these things are tools that help us. And God created therapists just like he made a cardiologist or a dentist. You go get your teeth clean, maybe, you know. So
Also,
same kind of things. We just here to help with the emotional part.
amen. So speaking
Hmm.
of that, you keep talking about tools and strategies. What are some of the practical tools or strategies that people can use daily to combat seasonal depression or to find joy in even small ways?
In this time of the year, it gets darker faster. So you have to be conscious of giving yourself some sunlight and some time outside during the day. Also, if it's freezing cold and you can't be outside, there are lights that you can have in your home that mimic the sunlight outside. And that can help you if you're having a really hard time with it being dark, right? I have a twin sister who, like, during this time of the year, she turns on all the lights and has all the curtains and things open because she needs as much sunlight as she can
Yeah.
get. Even if she looks for a place to live, she's looking from the basis of how is the lighting in my home, right? And so there are clear things you can do to increase the light. Outside of increasing the light, you still need to exercise. If it's cold outside, you can get a walking pad now for like $100 that you can slide under your bed. If that $100 is like, girl, that's not in my budget. Okay, there are chair exercises. You
Yes.
can get you a $5 mat from the Five and Below store and do yoga poses at home. Like there is no excuse for not moving your body, even when it's cold. All right. And outside of that is you got to be intentional with connecting with things outside of yourself. So in this time of the year, I understand, well, I work from home now, but when I used to work out in the world, when I got home, I won't trying to go back out because now it's
Oh,
dark and cold and I don't want to do the things, right? But if you notice that you stay isolated from people or you work a job where you don't get that same kind of social engagement, you have to be thoughtful with using your off days to do that or finding ways to incorporate connection. One thing COVID demonstrated for us is we need connections, y'all. Like studies demonstrate how much we benefit from just having hugs. Like my
yeah.
husband is not a hugger, but I be making that man hug me every chance I want a hug. Give me hugs because hugs are so important. It releases the happy hormones. They're good for us to
Yeah.
have that kind of connection. And so, if you're trying to take care of yourself in this time, you have to prioritize yourself and incorporate these things and be intentional with it to help you get through. Now, the holidays historically are great times for me because I love Christmas. I do Christmas throughout the year. I know y'all, that's a little weird, but that's my thing, right? And so, in make Christmas cookies, we find little small things, family time, and make it a better experience. I'm saying what it might look, but you still need to be finding ways to something outside of yourself to
That's so true. And I like that because there's special things that Monday through Friday we have like a half. And then if you're
Mhm.
going through sadness or depression, it's easy. It's like
Yeah.
you start. That's a good thing. Maybe you need to take care of yourself 24/7. I got to be alone all the day. Doesn't always have to be business. I prefer to have fun and laugh. It's just one months about trying to reconnect. Been since I've
Yeah.